this man I trust.
What's one of the main?
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you
really,
for that support, and I appreciate it
really,
very much.
totally.
It means a lot.
That is great support. What
Thank
are
you.
some of the issues that you're really passionate about? Can you tell us?
Besides the war?
Well, no, the war. Tell us about your views on the war and
Oh, I think
where
it's
your
terrible.
passions
I
lie.
think it's criminal. That's
What-
it?
Well,
Well,
and the Libertarian Party is the party of peace.
Yeah.
And we stand for peace,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she stands for that worldview.
I don't
Terrific.
think we had any business interfering in somebody else's country
if
and taking our young boys and girls and, you know, offering their lives for something like that.
and Joel, if you were to be elected, what would you do to try to help get us out of the war that's
Well,
making a lot of Americans so unhappy?
We would be out of Iraq as soon as possible, and this whole idea that we need to be involved in foreign wars. We have 250 bases around the world. The United States does not need 250 bases. We don't need bases in Korea. We don't need bases in Japan. It's time for us to compete economically. That's where we do well. That's okay, but to have this military presence, we need to remove ourselves from these crazy adventuristic and aggressive ideas. The Constitution said we should defend the country. That's what we need to do. We don't need to be going to foreign countries. It's terrible.
World.
You know,
they don't even want us to.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
We have a partner, the government, who sends young men and women to foreign wars, taxes us to death, creates deficits, is completely irresponsible, and the people feel disenfranchised. And that's what this candidacy is about. And I thank you for your support. I thank you. It means a lot. Your vote means a lot. Every vote is so important.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your views.
Thank you. Thanks for coming by here and doing your part for democracy and freedom.
Well, yeah.
Is this on board here?
This is on, yeah.
Yeah.
Joel is running for Congress for the 6th Congressional District. What are some of the main issues that you'd like to, address with him, or questions you'd like to ask of him?
Well, my big issue now with congressional representation is whether or not the congressman or woman will pay any attention to what the constituents want. And I've heard here that Joel is very responsive in that regard.
How would you make sure that you're listening to the constituents?
Well, I'm not only listening, I'm an advocate for this community. And one of the issues, I think, and a very important one, is that the current Congress person is asleep at the switch and is not an advocate, and I'm an advocate. And I'll be listening, and I'll be a powerful fighting force for the community. And I thank you for that, because it's very important. And
Sure.
It is the key to representational democracy.
Yeah, nowadays it's not so much a matter of are they Republican or Democrat or whatever. It's a matter of, everybody's pretty much the same. There's a lot of lobbying going on by lobbyists, and the little people back in the districts just don't get represented. It doesn't really matter what they want or what they think.
And it's also true that their backs are broken by $2 billion presidential campaigns, and they're swamped out, or their views are swamped out by Hollywood, so that people in the local community don't get represented. And as you know, this party doesn't believe in raising a lot of money. They believe in representing the people and getting down and rolling up their sleeves and working hard and listening. So it strikes a very strong chord. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Is there a particular issue that you really feel strongly about that you'd like to ask, Joel, where he stands and maybe how he could help?
Well, I'm very much in favor of removing all of our troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, and maybe several other countries around the world. I don't believe we should just start invading countries because we think they might attack us sometime in the future.
Well, the libertarian view, called the Party of Peace, and we think the 250 military bases that we have around the world is an obscene gesture of American power. We believe it should be an economic power that we're asserting, not military power, and that's what we belong. And the idea that we have bases all over the world is outrageous, and countries don't like us, they're mad, and it's time for troops to come home and for us to take a new look at how we how we represent ourselves in the world.
Like we have several air bases in Germany. How would we feel if Germany wanted to put some bases here? They want to build a base down in Milpitas. You know, it's not right. We should be in our country, and Germany should be in their country.
That's a great point, Joel. And one we hear about ending the war, but we don't hear about pulling our troops out of all these other countries. What would your stance be on that?
Well, I think I think Americans have a right to have relationships with their country, and in fact have a base. And I will use example that we have a Navy that visits England, and England has a Navy that visits us, but it's a visitor. And it's not a permanent base, and we don't impose ourselves upon other countries. And I wanted to mention also that we have bases in Korea, and we've had them since 1949. And we are surrounded there, or at least I would say the Koreans, the North Koreans have China and South Korea and Japan, three of the most powerful countries in the world. They can take care of themselves. They don't need the United States to impose their will and have a base in that particular country, for instance. As a matter of fact, we're not wanted there. So I think that's an example of a place where we need to be gone, as well as Germany and many other places.
Well, and in fact, the majority of South Koreans want us gone too. They don't want us to have a base there.
No.
I think we should respect that.
Yeah,
My other big issue is with the way the monetary system is being handled. And I think inflation is inevitable the way things are going now. They're ramping up the printing presses in Washington, and we'll see $20 a gallon gas by the end of this next president's term.
Well, we have a Federal Reserve and a Treasury Department that does one thing very well, and it's called printing money. And printing money, increasing the deficit, wanton expenditures that we have in the name of the government is going to cause us serious problems, and we're going to be in for a serious problem ourselves. You know, our debt to ourselves is $500,000 per family. So every child that's born is going to have a $500,000 debt. He starts out with a debt that we've created, and I think we need to really address those issues, get the debt down, stop printing money, become responsible and accountable. A lot of things that we don't see today. We have a lot of work to do here.
And $700 billion sounds like a lot of money, but that's how much our national debt goes up every year.
Well, Congress not only just spent $700 billion on a bailout, they spent another $350 billion on an inflationary farm bill, along with several $100 billion for other issues. So you add all these up, it's a very serious, painful issue. We need to be accountable. You know, we balance our checkbooks. We have to do that. We're required to do that. Why can't we ask at least the minimum from government to do that?
Balance the budget every year, why not? Yeah.
At least that. At least that.
I agree, and I think many Americans would agree with that as well. Another topic I think that's on people's minds is healthcare, and lowering the costs, improving the care. Is that something that you're interested in, and maybe would like to ask Joel a question about?
Well, I actually work for a healthcare organization myself, but I think government involvement is always detrimental. If they're talking about providing health care for everyone, I mean, they just had to abandon that in Hawaii last week. They voted in a program for free health care for children, and everyone who had health care already for their children canceled it so that they could just take advantage of the free health care. And so they had to shut down the whole project. And that's the way things go when you get the government involved.
And that's a great point, Joel, one you don't hear of.
This one in Hawaii was a terribly misguided program, and it turned out that I think that experiment lasted less than a year. And it should be an example to us that government involvement in most cases is inefficient. I think one of the examples is that only 30% of the dollars that goes to welfare the recipient receives. That means 70% is wasted. So Our view is that any healthcare plan needs to have choice involved, needs to have competition, and needs to be responsible. And I don't think any of the healthcare plans that I've seen can deliver that kind of promise. One of the other important things is that not only is healthcare an issue, but the delivery of healthcare is an issue. We don't have enough doctors, and we don't have enough nurses in the community, and that's a serious issue. So when we hear major candidates talking about delivering healthcare, it's impossible. And, there is some healthcare groups that are successful, but in most cases, I think we're going to be in for a very serious problem as we move forward in the healthcare line. But our view, a libertarian view, would be that whatever we do has to have choice.
Do you think that would interest you and many Americans to have government out of healthcare and leave it up to the private free market?
The amount of waste that goes on when the government is involved. Like my employer has a big problem with this Sarbanes-Oxley law that got passed last decade, and it's very expensive. It's a lot of extra paperwork that we shouldn't have to do. We're not Enron. We're not going to cause a lot of big financial losses for someone. We shouldn't have all this extra financial record keeping that we have to do. It's just another problem for us to deal with.
Well, the Sarbanes-Oxley bill was supposed to be about transparency, or at least informing people or stockholders about business, but it has had a very counterproductive effect and a damper on business, because it costs them a fortune to not only comply, but it's been a great detriment to new business. And in the venture world, a company that wants to go IPO, they going to other countries now, like England and even in Shanghai and Hong Kong, because it's cheaper, it's simpler, it's easier, and less onus.
Even Halliburton has moved to Dubai.
Yeah,
that should say it all.
So when Congress enacts these laws, in many instances they become counterproductive. That's actually driven jobs away from the United States. So workers are hurt because Sarbanes-Oxley, particularly in a small company, has created onus obligations, and it costs millions of dollars a year to comply, and if you're a small company, it means a lot. So that's an example of a bill that needs to be revised, revamped, and maybe removed completely. But the result is we've lost thousands of jobs to other countries, and that's a shame. We need to change that.
Well, I'll be voting for you.
Well, thank you, sir.
But if you get elected and you're not responsive, you're out in 2 years. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll take that warning, and I guarantee you that you've got an open door anytime to come by and see me.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Sure.